There are a whopping 12 factions in Squad, each with their own strengths, weaknesses, and unique playstyles. And with the release of the Infantry Combat Overhaul, every single weapon has been overhauled to give each weapon its own strengths and weaknesses. Mastering every faction's unique strengths, weaknesses, and overall playstyle is a gargantuan task, but in this new series, I'll be helping you along the way by showing you how to master every single faction in Squad, from the humble insurgents to the crayon-eating Marine Corps. So let's kick off the series with quite possibly the most hated faction in Squad, and also the most misunderstood, the Middle Eastern Alliance. Let's start off on a good foot with their strengths. 1. Suppressive power. The MEA's G3A3 is a battle rifle which packs higher suppressive punch. Combine that with the best machine gun in the game, the MG3, and you have a faction that absolutely excels in suppressive firepower. 2. Impressive and versatile vehicles. The MEA's vehicles are nothing to scoff at, with both BMP-2 and BMP-1s. They also have rocket artillery in the form of APC scout cars equipped with rocket pods. They also have the lightning-fast Samirs equipped with MGs and also ATGMs for lightning-quick rushes and hit-and-run attacks. This unique collage of support artillery, heavy-duty firepower, and small, nimble, light vehicles makes the MEA a combined arms monster that should not be underestimated. 3. Grenades. The MEA are blessed with more grenades than other factions, allowing for increased wall bangs and window chucking in close quarters. 4. Strong at range. The MEA's G3A3 is a battle rifle, which means it does more damage than carbines like the M4, for example. It also has less damage drop-off than other rifles. You will only need one shot to the upper torso or, of course, their head to end an enemy. This makes the MEA stronger in mid to long range firefights, where they can properly leverage their battle rifles. 5. Stronger AT. RPGs with frags and PGO scopes adds additional firepower to the squad, while the hat kit gets 2 tandem rounds instead of just 1 like most other factions. This will also add to the lethality of the MEA squads to both vehicles and infantry. 6. Stronger Grenadiers. While the Virgin Blue 4 faction's M203 grenade launchers can only go a pathetic 250 meters in range, the Chad MEA grenade launcher can go an additional 100 meters for a total of 350 meter range, a small yet important distinction if you find yourself engaging enemies at longer ranges. And now on to the weaknesses. 1. Weak up close. The MEA's battle rifle is a double-edged sword. While you can enjoy the higher suppression, longer range, and increased damage output, you must also struggle with a very difficult to control rifle with a small magazine size. While US Army soldiers and Russians can and will happily turn you into Swiss cheese with their full auto carbines in close quarters, you will be, on the other hand, limited to rapid single-fire shots. Attempting full auto is something you just don't do with the G3 without a bipod. This leads to a clear disadvantage in close quarters and urban fighting, which the MEA find themselves in quite a bit. To compound the pain, the G3 is used in almost every single kit, which means you're just stuck with the G3. 2. Worse APCs. The MEA has fun weapons like rocket pods and cornet galore. However, the actual vehicles themselves are pretty shit in some areas. The MT-LB APCs, or Armored Personnel Carriers, are a far cry from the fast, capable APCs of other factions. BMP-1s will usually stand in for what would be 2 Striker APCs or BTRs, which is a double-edged sword. While you get a cannon and ATGMs, you sacrifice the speed and troop capacity of the BTRs, which is a game changer in Squad. Overall, the MEA simply has worse options for armored personnel movement, which makes combined arms pushes more difficult to pull off. 3. Worse light vehicles. While Samirs are excellent, fast, hit-and-run vehicles, the passengers are still going to be extremely exposed to small arms fire. While a Russian can sit in a cozy Tiger watching a monitor with some degree of armor, you will be out in the cold, just waiting to be gunned down by the first rifleman that looks at you funny. Samirs also cannot hold down behind a wall for cover, and to make matters worse, cannot even turn their weapon to the left or right of the vehicle, leaving it up to the driver to point the weapon in the right direction. For this reason, Samirs will not be as useful in a fire support role as other light vehicles, and will have to rely on the element of surprise and asymmetrical tactics to win the day. 4. Lack of a dedicated automatic rifle. The MEA's automatic rifle is simply a G3A3 with a bipod and a drum mag. While a bipod and drum mag upgrade has its own advantages, such as better accuracy and leveraging the hard-hitting rounds of the battle rifle for suppression, the lack of a distinct AR drastically reduces squad suppressive firepower at the squad level. Squads will have to rely more on their battle rifles and their team's 2 MG3 gunners to provide suppressive support. 5. The donkey gun. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room. The reason why everyone hates this faction is because of the G3 battle rifle and its stark differences in playstyle to most other weapons. As I've explained before, the G3 has higher damage and less damage drop-off at range in exchange for high recoil and lower magazine capacity. Yet, I would argue the reason why players consistently fail with this weapon is that they're using it as if it was a carbine, like an M4 or an AK-74. It is not viable to full auto at close range with the G3, nor is it easy to fire rapidly at long range as you would with the carbine. In order to be successful with the G3, we have to change our playstyle to exploit the advantages of the G3 while mitigating its weaknesses. My first tip with the G3 is to slow down, even more than you do with other rifles. Because the other guy is going to have the luxury of a low recoil carbine, we have to take care of our stamina just a bit more. So that way we can get on target just as he does and hopefully get that one good shot you need on his torso or head before he can shoot you twice. Slow down your rate of fire. Treat the G3 almost as you would a marksman rifle. The main reason people fail with the G3 is because they try and rapidly fire it like they might an M4. Don't. Instead, take well-timed, patient, single-fire shots. It's important to know your enemies as you know yourself as well. Most of your enemies as the MEA are using carbines, which have the perk of being low recoil and easy to control. Their downside is that they have severe damage drop-off at range. So not only do you have an advantage at range, but most of the time your enemies will have an active disadvantage at range. At least with the 4x scope, position yourself for mid to long range engagements. This is possible even in urban scenarios. For example, perching yourself onto the second floor window overlooking the street gives you the advantage if enemies come down this road or attempt to cross it. Watch fields, open desert, any place where if the enemy shows up and they will be forced to engage you with their puny carbines against your high damage battle rifle. This also applies to attacking as well. Try and find good areas that overlook the enemy objective or suspected enemy positions. Of course, you will not always have the luxury of defending and attacking at longer ranges. Sometimes you will have to push the enemy at close range. When you know you're going to be in close quarters combat, I strongly advise using the Z-point close combat optic. You will now be able to aim while you can shoot and can somewhat accurately rapid fire your G3 in close quarters. You still should take it slow, walk with full stamina, ready to shoulder and fire your weapon at a moment's notice, at least when you think enemies are nearby. When using a 4x scope in close quarters, you will be at a severe disadvantage. Don't use full auto unless really close to the enemy, like almost touching. When you see an enemy at close range, he will probably try and full auto you while you can only get 1 or 2 shots on before he kills you. Therefore, always position yourself in good cover to make his full auto ineffective when possible. Aim center mass and fire. Remember, you only need 1 or 2 shots. Of course, the MEA is still at a disadvantage in close range no matter what playstyle you use. So, the devs have blessed us with an extra grenade. That's 2 grenades for 4x optic scopes, and 3 grenades for every other kit. Unfortunately, these are the shitty grenades that tell everyone within 50 meters you're throwing a grenade. Even then, you should be able to uproot those naughty enemies from their strong positions. Get good at grenade chucking. It will work wonders for you with the MEA. Ensure you use your G3's powerful suppression in firefights. For example, if you think there may be enemies in a building, fire some shots in the windows and entrances to suppress your enemy and follow up with a grenade. Then, clear the building with friends. You can use this tactic in a variety of situations too, not just buildings, walls, rock formations. The world is your oyster. By far, the best asset the MEA gets when it comes to infantry is the MG3. Basically, an upgraded MG42, its suppression output is absolutely insane, and it's extremely deadly due to its low recoil and high fire rate. The only thing is, your team only gets 2. So, the player using this kit needs to be as efficient as possible to make up for the MEA's lack of a good automatic rifleman. If you get this kit, set up in a position with good sight lines and cover, overlooking where the enemy is likely to come from. Or, if attacking, overlooking your team's push. And when any hint of combat starts, suppress any areas of suspected enemies. Do not be shy. Really let it rip. Your team needs to leverage this beast in order to stall enemy offensives as well as adequately push. If possible, try and be near an ammo crate, and if you can't, the MG3 is one of those rare weapons where I would ask a rifleman to drop an ammo bag next to you. It's just that important to keep the MG3 firing. Having a friend with binoculars spotting enemy positions is also another great way to leverage the power of the MG3. Again, it's such an effective weapon that this is worth it. Squad-based tactics. When you find yourself as the leader of an MEA squad, you should attempt to leverage your squad's weaponry towards their advantages. That means on the defense, you should be setting up soldiers in static positions with good medium to long range lines of sight, and building support fobs that promote medium to long range engagements. When attacking, setting up a base of fire, preferably 200 to 300 meters away from your intended target, will give you the edge, especially if one of your squad mates is handling the Beast of the East MG3. For God's sake, get that man the best position possible and make him lay down lead. For more close quarters combat, I advise you to instruct your soldiers to forfeit the 4x scopes for the more agile Z-point red dot, with the added benefit of 3 grenades per man, which you can then use to wallbang every crevice of a suspected enemy position. Overall, try and put your soldiers in a position to best use their long-range oriented battle rifles, and when you can't, attempt to influence the loadout of your squad to better prepare for short-range engagements. On to the vehicles. The MEA's vehicle arsenal is unlike any other in the game. It has the capability of asymmetrical warfare like the insurgent and militia factions. It also has plenty of ATGM-based vehicles to go toe-to-toe with heavier enemy armor, and its own heavy armor is nothing to snuff at either. Essentially, the MEA gets the best of both worlds. Let's talk about the most underrated vehicle in the MEA arsenal first, rarely ever used to its full potential: the Samir. Samirs are 3-seater, open-top vehicles that provide little protection and have a very restricted arc of fire for their mounted weapons. In return, they are some of the fastest vehicles in the game. Samirs are the G3s of squad's vehicle combat. People struggle to leverage the Samirs because of their asymmetrical design philosophy, but there is a lot of damage potential for the Samir, and that's what we will explore now. For Samirs mounted with machine guns, there are several tactics to be used. One of the most cost-effective uses is a simple rush strategy. Many times, enemy logistics vehicles will overtake their armored support, and we can punish them for that. The strategy is simple. Simply take the best roads you can where you predict the enemy logistics will go, and shoot them out before their armor ever arrives. This strategy works especially beautifully on Mutaha, where your Samir can meet the enemy logistics vehicles before they even get to warehouse. Samirs also excel in ambush tactics because of its small size and speed. I like to park my Samir near likely enemy supply routes, wait for the vehicle to pass, then drive up and end them. With an MG3, you can realistically only target logistics vehicles, but with an NSV or Cord heavy machine gun, you can kill light vehicles and even damage enemy APCs. Of course, if all that fails, you can always use the Samir as a hit-and-run fire support vehicle. Setting up and firing our MG statically is a good way to get us killed, as our Samir has almost no protection from small arms fire. So instead, we take advantage of a defilade by driving up the hill, firing our MG until we have to reload or the MG overheats, then driving back down the defilade into safety, reloading our MG, and then popping up somewhere different and repeating the process. Using the Samir isn't easy, but the potential damage you can inflict on the enemy for the cost of a 5-ticket vehicle and 2 guys makes it a worthwhile challenge. Overall, the MEA's proficiency at asymmetrical tactics and long-range warfare set it apart from the more traditional squad factions. Players can dominate with the MEA, but only if they play them how their strengths incentivize you to play. And while you may not be able to control your team like a strategy game to play the MEA efficiently, using the tactics I've shown you, you can do your part in playing the MEA efficiently and helping your team win the game. That's all I have for today. Comment below what faction you would like me to cover next, and if you enjoyed the video, like, comment, and subscribe for more. Peace.